What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Hopefully you're well. It's Monday, July 13th, 11:15 a.m. We got a lot to cover. We got a lot to talk about. There were fights this morning in the UK. We're going to get into it. We had another successful weekend. We pretty much hit on everything. We lost one fight throughout, starting from Friday night in Australia up until this morning. We hit everything except Lonnie Kavanaugh on the money line. But if you're playing along, you would have made a lot of money. Like it was one of the best weekends I've had. Well, we've been on a roll, man. Like it hasn't been the craziest big name weekends, but guys, this is what we do. I say it almost every live stream. We're architects. We're archaeologists. We're seeking out, and we will find what we're looking for. We're gonna find wins. That's what we do. So the UFC was, in the headlines, obviously, with how that went down. So in the first part of this live, I'm going to go over our tickets, our winners. We're going to talk about what's in front of us as well. I'll take your questions. We have a lot to get into. As the channel is growing, you guys more and more are asking for more MMA content. So, this is a boxing channel, but MMA is my wheelhouse as well. I've been covering it for 15 years. So, writing, published author, journalist, that sort of thing. So, we have a UFC card this weekend. I don't know how much energy I'm going to be able to put towards that UFC card. I'm going to probably bring on some of the boys again later in the week. Shout out to Boss Christos. Shout out to Ali TV. Their Ali TV is Al Bundy in our Discord. The dude's a savage. Christos, you guys know him from the live and in the Discord. We did a MMA live stream on Thursday, or it was on Friday. Literally everything we covered in that hit except one fight. The only one I missed was Lonnie Kavanaugh on the money line. Everything else hit. Underdogs, parlays. We're out here doubling our money. Crazy. So it was a great weekend. Boxing as well. If you would have listened, if you would have doubled Max McIntyre knockout with Red Stall on points, you'd have doubled your money. So we can't complain, man. This is what we do. I love doing this. This is a passion. This has gone from a passion project to a full-on, as we're growing, August 1st will be 1 year, a full-on, full-time thing. So it's because of you guys. I appreciate you. Wherever you're tapping in from, like the video, subscribe. I'll keep that link pinned in the comment section. It's a couple bucks a month. You could join our Discord either on YouTube or Patreon. Whichever way you choose, it helps me. It helps our channel grow. You get access to our growing professional betting community. We're approaching 550 VIPs in there. It's moderated. You don't have to deal with casuals. You get to brush shoulders with really intelligent guys who put a lot of time and efforts into winning money. So that's the best benefit, the community aspect. So I'll keep that pinned. We'll get rid of that, and let's get into this. So where do you want to start at? Yeah, go through all the shorts. So I do shorts on YouTube. I just started sharing them. I just started sharing them on Instagram too, but I'll start doing this every week as well, using the YouTube short section to actually give you guys the reads that I have of like where my money's going. So you don't always have to look for the slips. These ones are public. So these aren't behind the paywall. This was last week. I broke down what I was looking at. It was spot on. Go check it out. Yeah, everything hit. So this guy, I'm not even going to tell you how much he bets way too. He makes me stressed. This guy stresses me out. Somehow he got my number. And he just messages me the night before fights. He's like, "Give me a double." And every time, we're 2 for 2. We're 2 for 2, and he takes care of me. So shout out to tipping the bartender, man. I never ask him to do it, but yeah. However you guys could support, right? We're dancing. Come on now. All right, this is what I woke up to. So you got to remember, it was slow all week, right? So we didn't have a lot of options, but we still doubled our money. We found a way, and that's the beautiful part about what we do. We don't have to force things. We don't have to get sexy. We don't have to get cute. We just have to put in the work. Be logical. Logic. Bet with your wallet, not with your heart. And we're going to find our work, boys. So if you were to listen, this came in this morning. Max McIntyre. Look, usually I will never take a 20% knockout prop. You guys know that. It's against my sort of like strategy. But in a weekend that we didn't have options, I knew that I'm not going to give you guys the goal is to, get plus money tickets. So the 20% knockout prop I felt was really safe. And then Red Stall on points, I thought that was a gimme. Like, are you kidding me? We're getting 91% return on Megan Redstall as the A side at home, fighting a girl who is a smaller girl, division up. Neither one can punch on points. I didn't watch the fight. I woke up to it. All we do is we win and move on, right? We win and move on. I'm not going to watch the fight either. All right, and this was a recap. We hit 4 out of 5 this week. Like I said, the only one we missed was Lonnie Kavanaugh. And it got fight of the night. Lonnie was just a little bit, the 2 losses Lonnie has in the UFC, looking back, they're to 2 long-rangey guys, Charles Johnson and Brandon Royval. Who could have predicted we were going to get the best version of Brandon Royval? That was literally the best I've ever seen him. Raw Dog's a goddamn animal. He took some big shots against Lonnie. So, we missed the Lonnie Kavanaugh double. We had Lonnie Kavanaugh and Max Holloway on the money line as a double. Obviously, Lonnie lost. Everything else hit. So much for a slow week, right? So much for a slow week. People talk more when we lose, though, by the way. Like, we're so used to winning. It's like if we don't win, if we don't produce winning tickets, if we don't produce winning outcomes week in and week out. I do this I don't write a lot lately because I've been doing a lot of video. But it's just an interesting thing, When you win, silence. It's when we lose the haters come out. So these were the winners. Moneyline triple, Costa, Basharat, Yanez. Yanez looked great, didn't he? I told you Yanez by knockout. I played that on a separate ticket. Adrian Yanez. I gave you guys a knockout prop on the short. I gave you 3 of them. They all hit. I said that Patty would be dog of the week to beat Saint Denis. It hit. I said that Yanez was going to stop Cody. That hit. I said that Max was going to stop Connor. That hit. Everything hit. Batista, our dog parlay. So one of my boys put 1,000. So if you would have put 1,000 on this, you would have got 4,442 back. So this plus 442. 2 dogs. Batista looked great. Exactly what we predicted. I felt like it's his time. Corey is tough. It's interesting. Corey seemed to get a leg injury at the end of the first round when Mario had him in an awkward submission attempt. And when Corey was protecting the leg rounds 2 and 3, he actually fought better. It was odd. It was like at the end of the last half of the first round, Mario was picking up on Sandhagen's timing and using Sandhagen's aggression against him, and he was starting to kind of get into his groove. And then the second and third round, when he had Corey hurt, Corey was much more defensive, but it was tricky. It was a close fight. Mario did win a unanimous decision, though. Rightfully so. This is crazy. So ESPN bet, ESPN.com bet, they just released statistics. The U.S. market alone, 92% of the U.S. market bet on Conor McGregor to beat Max. That is absolutely shocking. It goes to show you, though, the amount of casuals in MMA betting and the star power of Conor, because he's one of these type of polarizing figures, as you know, that people are going to bet on him just because they like him, right? But that's not what we do. Time and time again, we bet against our favorite fighters. If you're a successful bettor, if you're doing this professionally, you will find yourself having to make a bet against your favorite fighters. This is what we do. So I just wanted to share that. Holloway by knockout, I thought that was a steal. And then the McIntyre and Redstall, I mean, come on, 91% on Red Stall on points is crazy to me. No one's knocking anyone out. We just covered that. You got to train, guys. The only way we can be successful in life, this is my opinion, you got to be cognitively switched on. For at least me, the only way I can be at my best, I have to be training. I have to work my body. So this was the stat I was telling you about. This is crazy. 92% of money was bet on Conor McGregor to win. Literally, the 8% had to be our group. The 8% that didn't bet on Conor was in our Discord. So that's that. That was this weekend. That's about 10 minutes. That's as long as it takes. A quiet one today. I'm going to stay on, though, because we got a lot to talk about. I take your questions. Let's see what's up. Going to Pro Box next Saturday in person. That should be fun, man. Pro Box. Who's headlining that? We do have a lot of fights. There's fights tomorrow in Japan. I'm going to do another live. Obviously, I do lives every day. If you're new to the channel, just hit notifications. I'll pull up the odds for tomorrow because, we're right back at it. We're going to talk about our wins, and we get used to winning. It kind of bums me out because my philosophy on life is I don't take things for granted. I don't take anything for granted, whether it's a healthy friendship, you're in love, your health, wealth, nothing, breath. I don't take anything for granted. And I always tell the boys in our group, when you win, it's good to appreciate the win. Don't celebrate it too much, but don't take it for granted. You know what I mean? Because it's weird it's a weird thing because we just turn the page and we're moving on right to the next one. So same with your losses. I don't harp on the losses too much either. If you're doing well, this is important here because the last 3 weekends, you guys should be up. I don't know where you are in the world or what your financial situation is, but if it could pay a bill, withdraw the money from your account, please. Whether wherever you are, we're very diverse in our group. We're from all around the world. I don't know. I'm probably one of the oldest here. My advice to you younger guys, if it's your cell phone bill, if it's your car payment, if it's your electric bill, if it's your mortgage, and you're up, withdraw it. Because nothing is worse than getting greedy, thinking you're going to win all the time, not withdraw it, and then try to double it or triple it and then lose. This is how habits start. It's not a healthy habit to have. So have some standards, have some principles, have some processes for when you win. Some of my guys that I work with on, behind the scenes that I help with strategy, and I'm helping them develop a bankroll. So I do this as well behind the scenes. I'm not going to say any names, but so I have a guy and I tell him, I see his bets and I see his winnings. And I know that when he gets to 500 in his account, we're withdrawing. This is his bankroll. This is how I'm helping him grow his bankroll. So when he's up 500, let's say it's 800, he just won 890. We're withdrawing $500 into his account and we're keeping the 390 in it and we're building again. So that's his limit. Some guys have 1,000. If once it gets to 1,000, withdraw it. Once it gets to 200, wherever your bankroll is, as you're growing your bankroll. These are for serious bettors, guys who want to, sort of consistently do this, but strategically, right? I remember when my bankroll was 100. Whenever it got to 100, I'm withdrawing when I first started. And then you kind of grow, and then you understand the ebbs and flows throughout the year of what happens, and then you get better and better at knowing when to pull the trigger, how heavy to go. But if you're never withdrawing and you're leaving your winnings in there and it's just a number in your sports betting account and you just see a number and you're never withdrawing it into your bank account and you're never buying things or paying for things, it's never real. It's not tangible. So if something isn't real or tangible psychologically, we then have no value on it. So it becomes a sort of repetitive routine of just betting. And it's a very toxic place to be. So if that's you, I'd say maybe take some time off. And if you do have money in your account, withdraw it. And we'll start over scratch this week. Husky, appreciate you and the crew. We were right about McGregor, the mind and body. Weren't prepared, brother. We took a lot of pushback for that, too. What's your thoughts on McKinney and Green finish? I mean, I just saw a video of McKinney talking to Bobby afterwards. Terrence McKinney had to cut 30 pounds during fight week. I'd like to give Terrence McKinney an IQ test. He seems like a sweetheart, a sweet kid. 30 and he didn't have any abs. Once again, why I always reference body composition is because I'm a lifelong athlete. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I have clients who pay me to either keep them healthy or get them healthy, right? I know what the body should look like at a very high performance pace, right? When I'm looking at an apex predator, a top level professional athlete, a living assassin who uses their body as a weapon, like a professional UFC lightweight in Terrence McKinney, and I'm seeing him, and he's an inch shorter than me. And at 155, he doesn't have visible abs. I'm thinking, like, how do you not have abs at 155, mate? You're 15 years younger than me. I weigh 30 pounds heavier than you. And I'm 44 and I have abs. And I'm not a pro athlete. And I'm not on any, I'm natural. So the point is, that tells me there's something off in his approach, whether it's his lifestyle, his strength and conditioning, was he injured? To have to cut, so you're just fighting, you're just fighting to make weight? Like that, he's way too skilled, way too talented to have performances like that. It almost looked like he quit. But I've been punched in the liver before. I've never been kicked in the liver. I know what a liver shot does. It shuts everything down. So it did look suspect, but I'm not here to judge that aspect. I'm judging what I saw, what he looked like. And then hearing him afterwards, he weighed 185. He weighed 180. So he walks around at my walk around weight, right? This is where I'm struggling to reconcile. He's walking around 185, my walk around weight. So if you're at 155, which we saw him on Fight Night, or at least the weigh-ins, and he looked horrible at the weigh-ins, and you still don't have abs, what are you looking like at 185? Like, what is your, like, what, you're obviously missing something in your program, whether it's your nutrition, your lifestyle, your strength training. There's something missing there because the kid is super talented. Super talented. You can see it. John, again, I salute. Come on. Let's go. Julius, my guy. You know I'm getting cooked for that one, right? So, JSB Insiders, check the Patreon, check the YouTube member section. We have 2 tickets that are live already going into this weekend. 3 tickets. One of them that is halfway done is our quarterly parlay. We're 5 out of 11. The second one is the July-August parlay that kicks off this weekend. And the third one is a knockout prop. And I'm just going to say my boy Sniper J and I see eye to eye. Let me know what day you want to come on the live and we can shoot it up. Youngin, Moonshot, my guy. You were eating in there. You were eating in the Discord. Dude, it's been a good... the Discord, our picks, we've just been in a good spot. Like, we're winning, like, it's going under the radar, which I like. You know what I'm saying? I like when, like, there aren't these massive weeks, and I feel like there's just food on the table, and it's just there for us to take. Like, there's some fights this weekend, too, that I'm already looking at, like, all right, this is food. Anybody in the U.S. able to bet on the Spence fight? The Who Knocks? You guys should be. I mean, that's a massive card. You got Errol on that card. You got Big Charlo on that card. You got Cool Boy Steph on that card. You guys aren't getting that card. You guys aren't getting that. What book do you got, bro? Johnny, your thoughts on Kevin Anton 13 fighting? Bro, I looked at this. Vlad is a plus 300. We got to talk about it. We have to talk about it. I looked at the odds. We'll get, I'm gonna do live streams twice a day, either starting tomorrow or starting Wednesday, because there's a lot to get into. I'm already doing tape. You guys will get my Stats Don't Lie video tomorrow of Diego versus Aleem. And then Andy Cruz is fighting. The odds are interesting on that. The money line odds aren't good, but we're going to have to get sexy with the props. Right now, the prop on Andy Cruz by knockout is 60% return. And he's fighting Abraham Montoya. Far from perfect. Montoya has 7 losses, but he's never been stopped. I know it's a short notice fight. I have to look into, was Abraham Montoya in camp? Or did he just get off the couch? We know Cruz was supposed to fight on the card with Mason. So Cruz on points right now is plus 150 against the Mexican who's never been stopped. But there are variables that I need to look into. For you sharp bettors, have a look at that prop. I'll pull it up in a second once I get caught up. What's up, Floyd? Taraji, we'll pull it up in a second. What great advice, Sean. It's hard to cash out. What's up, Dan? Nah, man. I'm not trying to be preachy, boys. Like, I know sometimes I could come off as preachy. That's just, I'm a coach. Like, this is what, I'm a teacher and I'm a coach. So, I'm used to being around, in my person to person life. This is my real life too. But you know what I mean? It's like my background is to help people. So I'm speaking from experience. Nothing is worse than, all your reads hit, you're on a roll, you actually did film, you know what you're talking about. You have more money. Dude, does this ever happen? Maybe you haven't gotten paid yet, and in your betting account, you actually have more money in your betting. If you have more money right now in your betting account than you have in your bank accounts, withdraw that, please. It might sound crazy to those, like, at 44, that's not my situation anymore. But when I was a kid in my early 20s, if there were betting apps around at the time, I'm sure that would have been me, having way more money in my betting account than my bank account. My bank account when I was in my 20s, everybody, nothing, right? I'd have, like, enough to just live. But if that's you in this day and age of digital, everything's digitized, cash out, man. Withdraw and just start over. We'll rebuild. We'll rebuild. That's why we up. We're always going to be up. We're going to find our wins. You got to make it feel real, because if you're never cashing out and there's not, like, when's the last time you bought a pair of, like, a new pair of sneakers off your gambling winnings? It might sound rudimentary. Trust me on this. When's the last time you went to the mall, went to the shops, and went to your favorite store and bought, didn't look at the price tag and bought whatever you wanted off of the money you just hit on boxing? Do that. It's fun. Like, so my girl, I do it as like it's kind of an inside joke, but my girl's really into horse racing. It's part of the culture here. And she always, like, their whole family, Australia, horse racing culture is huge here. And it's like you get fancied up, you dress like you're going to the ball, and it's like an event. So she's into the horses. She's not a big gambler, but when she goes to the horses, she gambles. So she always asks me for my betting tips if I could put bets in her for what we do. And I'm like, no. So we're not doing that here. We're not doing that. So I think it was like a month ago. I was like, all right, I'll do a small little bet, and if it hits, we'll go shopping with the money. But it'll be your bet. And then it hit, and then we're going. It was just like the best day for her. And it wasn't like we always go out. Our relationship's extremely healthy, and it was just like a fun thing to do. And it gave me the idea. I was like, when's the last time? So I challenge you. When's the last time you went and bought, like, the new Jays off of a boxing hit? It makes it real. You know what I'm saying? If it's only digitized and you're only looking at it through a number, even if you're only using your winnings to, like, I know guys who they're so into betting, they're using their winnings for their lifestyle, like paying bills, which is great. Buy yourself something, though. Buy yourself something. Shoes, a nice blazer, a leather jacket, something like that. I had Patty with a lot of your boxing tips from the last few weeks, like Kane, Colosso. Yeah. Thanks, man. But and this is what I was talking about. Because we do this every week, I sometimes I get down because I'm not going to be 100%. Obviously, nobody is. And the channel or the commenters are only vocal when we lose. So I sometimes forget, like, it's hard to explain. But I appreciate you supporting me, man. This is what we do. It's about the community. Were you annoyed with and were I annoyed and got no? Look, man, great question actually, Blue Jay. Boxing was my first love. I always say that. I walked in my first boxing gym with my dad when I was 7, and he wanted to teach me how to defend myself, right? And so I think boxing should be taught to all young kids. I think it should be a program in schools. It's not what you think. It builds confidence, character, it builds respect, it builds humility. So many things that are unseen to the fan once you learn, especially as a young kid. So whenever for like pro athletes of other sports enter the ring, I welcome it on any standard because it's like, you know, welcome into our space. Like, enter the ring at your own risk. He performed better than a lot of people thought he would against Fury. Boxing's tough, man. He's a pro combat, he's a champion MMA champ though. You know what I'm saying? I'm still salty when he knocked out my boy Stipe in the UFC. Not showing my books, bet 365. Should be patient then, who knocks, because I think what's happening in the US is, well, I don't know. I can't speak for the betting apps in the US. I know there's fights tomorrow in Japan. Maybe after tomorrow. I don't know if the US books have to reset. I'll bring up my odds in a second. I was thinking it needs to get closer that week, and it should. Yeah, we got 2 weeks. I'll be at that fight, so we got to take. We got some good seats. I'm going with some of the boys. I know there's a few JSB insiders who are going to be at that fight. Errol Spence versus Tim. Hit me up before, man. We'll meet in the lobby. We'll have some beers. We'll take some photos. It'll be a good time. I ordered some shirts. We'll see if they come in. I made some shirts. You can buy them. They're in the merch store. They just say "We Up." I want to see what they look like. I'm gonna wear it with. You'll see. Hopefully they're here for fight night. I want to wear it to the fights. What's up, Jay? Iwata moneyline, Anton moneyline to Raji. All right, you guys are. I'm gonna pull it up now. This is my cue. The boys are saying, just pull the book up, bro. Just pull the book up, bro. All right, guys. All right, so you're gonna take Awadi. Is anybody playing? So there's fights tomorrow, boys. I'm not gonna sit here and say I've done tape, and I'm not a bettor and gambler. If you're new to the channel, when you see my picks, if you're a JSB insider and you're new and you see the tickets I give to everyone, that's my bread and butter. That's how I make a living. So there's no guesswork involved. When I'm looking at Kawaguchi and Kajino, I haven't done tape. This fight's tomorrow. The odds are good enough. Part of me wants to put 2 hours in and watch Shota Kajino and see if we're live here. But I don't know. And then there's 2 fights tomorrow. Sutsumi as well. Anybody tape those 2 fights tomorrow? His last fight, they go 12 rounds with Lester, and everyone thinks Lester. Yeah, all right, we're talking about Aleem. I don't think Lester is the guy that they sold us, right? He's talking about Aleem versus Lester Martinez. I don't think Lester Martinez is a big puncher. He was sold to us as a big puncher because he developed that regional knockout to win ratio record. But watching his style, he's almost like a volume swarmer. You know what I'm saying? He's like a mix of like and Billy and Zepeda almost. When you look at how he fought and Billy and then how he fought Aleem, he wants to be in a certain space and he wants to. We're talking about Lester, and his punching is kind of forced. So if anything, he's good. The last 2 fights for me, watching Lester, it kind of brought him back to reality on my end of who I thought he was versus I thought he was a level above than what I think he really is, which is fine. He's still a bad dude. He's going to be a tough fight for anyone. But he's not one of these guys who is classy about his work punching wise. He's not an accurate setup guy, which if you're going to say a guy is a puncher, it's usually in those spaces of timing when the fight slows down that they're either feinting and setting their power shots up versus a guy who's punching with you and swarming and wants to be in the pocket, likes it dirty. So I think, and Aleem was kind of comfortable there, playing that same game. Diego Pacheco, say what you will about Buddy McGirt. He left Benavidez Senior. We know he cut his teeth up in the Pacific Northwest, and he's with Buddy McGirt now. It's hard to disregard his physical dimensions. He hasn't looked exceptional in his last few fights. How much of that, we know how much of boxing is determination, especially being inspired for a fight. We've seen it before when, guys have had sort of down fights because they weren't up for it. Think about when Boots fought Chukichin the second time. It was like, how's a guy like Gervontadavis get up for a Karen Chukichin 2 fight? He still won the fight, but you see what I'm saying. So imagine if you're Diego Pacheco, and we don't know his personal story, but I know he's an LA kid, right? And he's training up in the Pacific Northwest. Maybe he wants to leave. Maybe he wants a camp change. Maybe there was turmoil leading up way before his last fight, and he's still young enough, big enough that I think a camp change could do him well. We've seen fights prior where stoppages did look great, where those uppercuts are sharp, where he is punching and sitting on shots. So what I'm leaning on, and I like this bet a lot, and you'll hear it in my breakdown. I'll upload it tomorrow, my Stats Done Live video. I'm leaning on a rejuvenated Diego Pacheco, a sharper Diego Pacheco, and a slightly elevated Diego Pacheco with the entire change, fresh start sort of thing. You mix that with his size, his reach, his length. I like his uppercuts versus Aleem's style, a little bit sort of like there to get hit. Not going to be a popular pick, but I like Pacheco by knockout. What are your thoughts on Better Be of my fellow Canadian? You've taken citizenship rights to Artur Better Be. I mean, he's in his 40s now. He's a legend. Artur Better Be, true monster, a nightmare for anybody. We want to see him fight again. Johnny, what about Auntie Adelaide Rue's rematch against Ginny Fuchs? Let's check it out. Well, Auntie, the aunties, the aunties have been paying us the last few months. I'll have a check. I'll have an answer for you probably in the next 2 days. Last year, my boxing, it's paid. This is what I'm talking about. J-Sai, and it makes it real. Think about that. It paid for his Japan trip. This is what I'm talking about. I know personally of guys that, that's why I said if there's more money in your betting account than your bank account, withdraw it. Because I know guys where that's the case. I know guys who it's like, it's impossible for them to withdraw. It's impossible for them to withdraw because they're so addicted to the pump. Like it's almost like they don't even care about winning. They're addicted to the pump. The feeling of impulse you get, the endorphin you get when you risk heavy on a bet. That's what they're addicted to. They don't give a shit about boxing. They don't give a shit about winning. It's almost like they're addicted to losing. I've seen it firsthand with friends. So that's where my advice comes from. Life experience. Shit, so really, motherfuckers gamble all weekend and don't cash out and buy shoes or buy a... I'm just being real, man. You know what I'm saying? It's what I always talk about. If you're out here being a miserable prick, if you're losing, I don't know how you're if you're losing all the time, you're probably not happy. You're probably being a dick to everybody. You're probably struggling with your relationships. Stop gambling. If you're not having fun, if you're not finding success, if you're always losing, stop gambling. I really mean that. Sometimes a reset is okay. It's okay to press pause. It's okay to reset. Get in the water, get out the water. Come back when you're ready. I just said it about Diego Pacheco changing camp. Sometimes the change is good. Also, I saw yesterday, it's always the UFC bettors. Bad habits. You don't have to bet on every fight, guys. Insane. because the UFC's model after the other, and there's so much parity. Usually you're going to get 12 fights. Sometimes there's 13 fights on a card. And there's so much parity in MMA matchmaking, meaning that each side of the token, generally, you're going to get favorable odds, whichever way you go. And then when you're piecing together method of victories, you can build these crazy parlays. Shout out to, his name will come to me. He's in our Discord. Yovi and two others. How are three people calling me right now on a live stream? I think it's Mark in our Discord. An $800 bet. He made a parlay to pay out $330,000, and he cashed out at $32,000. And forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but I think the parlay hit. So $800 to win $330,000 in our Discord, right? When he cashed out, like, what would you do? I brought this up to my girl. Who is this? I'm on a live. When I brought it up to my girl, I asked her, I go, what would you do? You know what I'm saying? If I put an 800, it's a tough position to be in. You bet $800. You're already getting the cash. You're already getting the cash out. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. You're already getting the cash out opportunity to make 32,000 off of an $800 bet. But then you see the potential of 330,000. What do you do? You know what I mean? That's a tough one. That's a real tough one. Because it hit, but he cashed out at 32. I think it's a great cash out. But it's probably going to haunt you. Like, this is a crazy game we play, man. Think about that shit. And the boys in the Discord know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking shit here. Shout out, I think his name's Mark. 800 to win 330,000. He shows us the parlay. And these are all picks that we're all picking. You know, he just wagered a lot more. Method of victory, so Yanez to win by knockout, Gable to win first round knockout. Like, bets that we all were riding, we all had in one way or another. And as they're coming in, we're like, that's another one. And then the cash out's growing. And it's like, it would be really, really, really hard for me, my personality. I got to be on my type. I'd like to think that I would cash out at 32,000. Because if that last leg doesn't hit, you're dealing with two different things here. If the last leg doesn't hit, you've lost $800. You let $32,000. You left $32,000 on the table. If the last leg doesn't hit, worst case scenario. If you cash out, you just made $32,000 off of an $800 bet. Win or lose if the last leg hits. And if the last leg does hit, you then take your $32,000 and think about what $330,000 would have felt like. So it's like, it's a good problem to have. And there aren't a lot of great problems to have in betting. Every now and then we come around. That's a great problem to have, by the way. So I'd like to know what the chat, what would you do, guys? What would you guys do? $800. This is a real life scenario that happened in our Discord yesterday. Would you take the cash out at 32,000 or would you let it ride for 330,000? It's a tough one. I appreciate you, bro. Thoughts on Tufasani Shakur? We reported on this last month. I knew about it. I posted about it. Check the YouTube shorts. I like it, man. Look, our group, we don't get paid. We don't get paid to commentate the politics of boxing. We don't get paid to judge promoters. I don't get paid to judge matchmaking. That's not what we do this for. The greatest sport on earth is boxing. What we get paid to do is to know our greatest sport, to study our greatest sport, to understand our greatest sport, to do film, to research, to have conversations like this, and then to win. So I'm a big fan of Shakur. I don't care. You know what? It's fine. Hello from BC, Canada. I'm not a massive boxing fan, but I can tell you're highly knowledgeable in the sport, and I respect. Thank you, Blue Jay. I appreciate your support. I started doing boxing only content only in last July, but my background, yeah, appreciate it. High depth insiders now. Johnny, what's your pick on? I like Eubank plus money. Man, it's tough one, man. It's tough one. David Popo really showed me something against Liam Paro. I was impressed with Popo's size. I was impressed with his range. I was impressed with his cardio. He's a little bit trickier than people give him credit for. That if he's the same guy who fought Liam, the guy who fought Liam beats Harlem Eubank. That's all. Harlem Eubank is an athlete who boxes. Just remember that. What's 135, 132? Give me, I'm like 70-30 Popo. I got to be honest. I know Harlem's the A side. I know it's in England. I know Popo's French. But, you know, from just a logical boxing mind, stylistically, I even though I won money on Liam Paro beating Popo, I thought we got a gift. I thought David Popo beat Liam Paro. I got to be honest with you. We won money. Our parlays hit. I can be truthful with you guys. Paro really struggled with Popo's length. Paro really struggled with the weight. Granted, it was his first fight at 47. I was impressed by Popo, man. I didn't think he'd be that gritty. You know, he had a bit of character. I didn't think he'd be that determined. So I got to do, you know, give me a day or two. Give me a day or two. Eubank's going to be the explosive guy, the athletic guy, the A side, the hometown kid. But yeah, give me some time on that. Agree. Gambling is a curse. Yeah, you got to control it. Anything could be a curse, though. This is why my narrative around what we do, Blue Jay, is always about the love of the sport. I was a boxing channel before the betting. The chat asked me to start giving my predictions. So my pure intentions have always been for the sport of boxing and MMA. This is why I don't do clickbait titles. This is why you don't see me do clickbait AI thumbnails. This is like when you watch my breakdowns, I'm being as professional as possible. Boxing is a blood sport. People die in our sport. So I've always kind of handled myself around what I'm doing with a little bit of responsibility. The betting, we have to make sure that we're doing it responsibly. If you're not having fun doing it, you could still win and still have fun. It's stressful as hell. You'll be stressing. But if you're not having fun doing it, dude, you don't have to do it. I mean that. Go for a run. You betting on Usman Duplessis? Yes, Toxic. Toxic Ramsey in the house. So, Toxic Ramsey, I think I've seen you maybe on the stream before. As we get closer to fight weekend, we do a MMA only live stream. And I'm going to do the card. I'm going to probably bring on, we have a couple MMA sharps in our Discord. If you guys want to, you know, revisit the MMA live stream, you don't have to. I did with Ali TV and Christos. Like I said, we broke down the McGregor card, 13 fights. I think we went 12 out of 13. I know I missed one. The only one I got wrong, it looked like it was a firefight. It got fight of the night. So we weren't that far off. It was and that's the one we're going to talk about, right? We're not going to talk about the double dog parlay we hit for plus 440. Who else was picking Patty and who else told you to take? Come on, boys. People forget. Even I'm forgetting right now because I do so much. Who else was publicly showing tickets before the fights with breakdowns to put Patty and Bautista on the same ticket? If you would have listened, $1,000 would have got you 4,200 back. We up. So yes, I'll be doing it later in the week. Parlay miss with Loney knockout. We were all cheering for the yeah. Oh yeah. So strategically, this is a good conversation to have because I read in our Discord that some of the boys, we were all on Lonnie, and he's only 27. What we're seeing with Lonnie is he's struggling with tall, long rangier fighters, right? And I kind of wish he would believe in himself a bit more. I think there were moments in that fight where he was allowing Royval to kind of bully him. I don't know. I haven't given up on Lonnie. I think he'll come again, as they say. But I was reading in the Discord that some of you guys were like, yeah, all of my parlays crashed because Kavanaugh lost. So from a strategical perspective moving forward, if that's you, if you lost multiple parlays because of one fighter lost, you need to learn from your mistakes. What I never do, ever, I'll never load up the same guy on multiple parlays for that exact reason. Now, there are obviously instances where you might see Tiger Johnson on multiple tickets, or you might, you know what I'm saying? Or you might see Abdullah Mason on the money line, that sort of thing. But when we're talking about like a 50-50, firefight in the UFC, especially the UFC, no matter how much you like a guy, I'll never put the same guy on multiple tickets. You got 12 fights to choose from. This is the strategy. You got 12 fights to choose from. You got your odds, and you got to tell yourself what your bankroll, with whatever your bankroll is, what are you trying to win? So I have a couple whales, like guys who are betting $20, $30, $40,000 on fights, who have my number, who message me. The first thing I ask, they'll message me, randomly, and then I'll say, what are you looking for? They'll say 2-1. I was like, cool. So now I know I'm not, like, from how much effort I put into this, and this is why all of the tickets I give you guys, all of them, are always going to be doubling your money. I feel with the knowledge I have, the years I've put into this, been around both sports my entire life, I should be able to find you guys 2-1, no matter what you're putting on. And that's kind of like where I hang my hat. Look at the results. So you need to ask yourself when you're building those tickets, what am I trying to win? What's my bankroll? 2-1, all right. If you would have paired Kavanaugh, and what I did was I took Kavanaugh and Max Holloway on the money line. That was the only ticket I lost. But that was paying like 1.4. So 1,000 would have got me my money back plus $400, so $1,400, more than 2-1. But that's the only time I used Kavanaugh. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't, because I had 12 other fights to choose from. I wasn't going to take Kavanaugh and sprinkle him everywhere. I don't do that with any fighter. Anything, especially in the UFC, because there's so much parity. Anything can happen in the UFC. Even Gable got his guy out of there, but I mean, that was you're at heavyweight, Nate. One punch, you have 6 pro fights, 5 pro fights. One punch could change everything. So I only used Gable once, first round knockout. We covered that in the live stream. That hit. Adrian Yanez by knockout. That hit. But, so if you're one of these guys where you're seeing, if this is happening more than once, don't let it happen to you again. This is the best advice with strategy, strategically gambling. If you're noticing patterns that are happening to you, on a routinely basis, don't do that anymore. Like, this is a major one. When people add the same guy on multiple tickets and you're losing multiple tickets because a lot of the tickets look alike. What are we doing then? Why would we do 4 parlays with 4 out of the same 6 fights with no variance? So when we're looking at statistics and patterns of success rates, variance matters. You can't just replicate. So if you're just trying to duplicate the same thing over and over, especially, with the odds, it's not really a practical way to gamble because one fight loses, you lose all of them. So it's just something to think about. That's an adjustment I made about it. You know, I picked up on that like a decade ago, but this is what I do. What I do. Are you willing to put 32,000 on the remaining legs? Imagine Loney being on that ticket. Yeah, he wasn't. It wasn't Loney. The ticket's in our Discord. You can go find it. I think I screenshot it. It's a good philosophical chat to have though, as gamblers, as bettors. You know, you never know what you would do in that situation unless you're put in that situation. And I hope that this is going to sound like I'm being serious. I hope that one day we're all in that situation because that means you're in a good spot. It's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. Could you imagine being in that spot? I was in that spot. I hit the 490 to 1 3 weeks ago. I let it ride. I let it ride on a girl fight on points. Oh, I'm so stressful. It was so stressful. Costa. Yeah. I think it's Costa money line, Basharat money line, Luke Riley by knockout, Yanez by knockout, Gable Stevenson by knockout. Cash out to 32, put a couple right. There was one leg left. Yes, cash out to 32. And the one leg was only paying, it was the least profitable too. He cashed out before Gable Stevenson round one knockout, but he had Kavanaugh by knockout, which didn't hit, so it was a good cash out. Oh, I didn't know that. Did he have Kavanaugh by knockout? I did not know that. Shout out to Dan. Is that a fact? Saul Sanchez. We'll get to it. We'll get to it soon. We got all week, boys. People saw proposed 5 TKOs and straight away jumped the gun. Yes, Youngin. I was one of. I did tape. If you want to watch the Perro versus David Proposed Stats Don't Lie video to revisit his style, you could do that because that was his last fight. So you could see I've broken down Proposed tape in the Stats Don't Lie video when he fought Liam. And I picked Liam on points, and we won our bet. But Popo was way craftier than I thought he was going to be. And you know, he was better than I thought he was going to be. I watched some of his fights, and I was impressed. I thought he beat Liam. King. I knew McGregor wasn't right with that weak ass mohawk, no blend at all. Yeah, what the hell? This is gonna, you know. Now we're on the McGregor topic. This is for you conspiracy theorists out there, because I know there's a lot of you guys. I didn't realize how popular being a conspiracy theorist is in online gambling. I'm new to this. I've never heard of Discord in my life. I never heard of Discord in my life until I started my own. I never heard of Patreon before until I started my own. And this was only last August. Through this whole journey for me personally, I'm learning a lot. It's keeping me young. I'm learning new lingo. I'm learning what LARPing is. I never knew what LARPing was. I never knew what big the guy was. That big guy. I never knew what that was. Like, I'm staying hip and modern with all the cool lingo, which is great. I didn't know. I never used to, like, you. My favorite phrase that you guys say is ass cheeks. When you're reading comments and somebody is describing a fighter's performance and you're reading it verbatim, ass cheeks, you gotta laugh out loud. That shit is hilarious. So kudos to the young bucks, you young generation. You guys are hilarious. But if you want to be a conspiracy theorist about this McGregor fight, and I know my whole point was a lot of the guys in the Discord, not a lot, I see a lot of like conspiratorial rhetoric going on in there. It almost looked like to me a humiliation ritual. It did, man. Everything from what King is saying. Shout out to Maryland. Maryland Terps in the house. The Terrapins, holla at your boy. You guys never beat us though. Go Buckeyes. But everything from like when you watch him during fight week, watch the walkout, watch his nonverbal communication. I talked about this during fight week. I watched the video I did. I did a short that got a lot of negative comments, but I was right. He didn't look like his body physically, it didn't look like he was in shape to me. And then you mix that with the mohawk. The mohawk looked horrible. It wasn't even like a taper. If you're gonna go mohawk, man, at least get that shit blended. Let's go skin fade into the mohawk and have it faded up. You know what I'm saying? Like go to a proper barber. That shit looked like his coach Kavanaugh did it in the hotel room. And then also, when you think about who Conor was when he was at his best, Conor McGregor was a guy who was a beautiful counter striker. This is a guy who relied on movement. And do you remember, he hired that movement coach, I do Portal. I do Portal was that French guy when Nate Diaz was like, you hanging out with that gay dude doing a touch butt in the park. But like, I say that because Conor was a guy who never forced anything. You'd hear him doing Bruce Lee quotes, be like water. Think about the knockout of Josie Aldo. He was a guy who would let you come into his range and then he would strike. He would use your aggression against you. And that's always been Conor McGregor. He's never been a guy to sprint out and, you know, be that aggressive on the front foot. You've never seen him fight like that. So that in itself was like, what is he doing? It almost seemed like, if you want to be like a humiliation ritual, like either like he had 2 fights left on his contract. There's a lot of money that maybe he owed people. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm trying to make it make sense. Maybe he did have an injury going into it. They keep saying he didn't. Kavanaugh gave a message, said he didn't have an injury. Even the UFC after the fight posted this little reel of Conor hitting the bag with doing leg kicks in the locker room, and they posted it as evidence that he wasn't injured. But even when you watch that, he doesn't look solid. To me, it looks like he's not free with it. Conor McGregor at his best is free flowing. Snap, snap, limber, long. Like even him hitting that bag, it looked off. Walking to the octagon, there's that video of him taking his shoe off, looked off. So let's say he knew he was injured, he knew he was hurt, he knew he couldn't pull out, he knew he had to fight, and then he knew he just had one. The only chance he had was catching Max off guard. I don't know. The whole thing seems fishy to me. I'm glad that the JSB insiders were part of the 8% who bet on Max Holloway. 92% betting on Conor. You guys bet with your heart instead of your wallet. But yeah, it was interesting. What's up? Holla. Guys, we're climbing. We're about 50 in here. We're an hour in. Like the video for me. We have a long week ahead. There's Japanese fights tomorrow at 5. Anybody dog hunting? Kushida Gino. Peyton Dinero. Appreciate you, brother. What's up? Thoughts on Rolly? I'm glad they're fighting. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good fight. I think Rolly, I think every time people underestimate Rolly, he proves people wrong. If you'd have told me Rolly Romero was going to be a 2-division world champion 5 years ago, I would have called you a liar. He is a 2-division world champion. He is the welterweight champ. I think the best Teo we saw was probably 5 years ago, that version of him. I probably would take Rolly right now. That's not my exact pick. I'd have to think about it. Very psychological game, you know? Both guys are very unique characters. Both guys are great for the sport. Unique, the fight week's going to be... Fight week with these guys is either going to be extremely entertaining or super awkward. You know what I mean? So, talent-wise, skill-wise, athletic-wise, you give all those gifts to Teo. Rolly, though, is a guy who believes in his power, and I think he has more skills than people think. And sometimes power has a funny way of domesticating fighters in the ring. So, we'll see. Yeah, Johnny, if I'm not mistaken, you have Tim over Errol. Do you have a method of victory? I can see Tim by decision. Can't wait to see Errol. Yeah, I'm very excited to see Errol Spence in person. Errol Spence was one of my favorite fighters coming out of the Olympics. One of my favorite southpaws of the modern era. I love that marauding style. Front foot, jab, jab, get to the body. That style, I talked about this all week. Even remove the car crashes, remove the history of Errol Spence, remove the Terence Crawford loss. That style in itself doesn't age well. You know what I mean? That, take one to give one on the front foot, jab heavy, pocket puncher, body puncher, slugger, bully style of Errol Spence Jr., flat footed. It doesn't age well in boxing regardless. You know what I mean? Regardless. So 3 years off. He rewatched the Terence Crawford fight. It was one of those rare fights between champion versus champion where it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. He got his ass beat. Like, he took a lot of damage. People were like, yeah, so did Tim against Murtazaev. Yeah, but that fight got stopped in the third. So did Tim against Seb. Yeah, but the first fight against Seb was a cut. It was competitive. Even the second fight, Tim was landing big shots. He just couldn't hurt him. And you guys keep sleeping on my boy Seb, dude. Keep sleeping on my boy Seb and let me keep winning money on Seb, okay? I told you guys the last few years this is a kid who lives in the gym, who is constantly evolving, whose physical dynamics already make him a real big problem, who is getting better with each fight. Seb Fedora is a freaking monster, guys. You guys are insane. Seb Fedora is a freaking beast, dude. He's a long night for anybody. So it's interesting. I'm going to be at the fight. The only play I have on that fight is I'm taking Zoo by knockout. Did I just? My bad. Did I say? Did I? Maybe I said that for shock value. Let me double check my ticket. I posted it a month ago. Zoo on the money line. Zoo on the money line is my take. Because right now I got Zoo on the money line. I got him at plus 185 a month ago. He's down to plus 120. I shared it once. I'm going to share it again this week. But I put my ticket in a month ago. Tim Zoo on the money line, plus 185. He's down to plus 120. So if I get sexy with a prop play, I might take Zoo by knockout. I don't know. The fight I'm really torn on is actually Liam Wilson versus Coolboy. Popo shocked everyone. What's your read on Popo versus Eubank, youngin? Sean Noakes. So this isn't Sam Noakes, Wizard. Sam Noakes is the fella who fought Abdullah Mason. This is Sean Noakes, different guy. That is a fact. Sorry, Johnny, I'm a little behind. It's all good, brother. Andy Cruz. Fight's coming up. Yeah, so the only way we're going to be able to make money on Andy Cruz this weekend, he's $1.60 by knockout, 60% return, against the guy Abraham Montoya, who's never been stopped, 7 losses, tough Mexican, short notice fight, or plus 130 on points. So that's where we're gonna have to make our money, getting sexy with the Andy Cruz method of victory. If you're gonna play that fight, it's pretty much unplayable on the money line. $100 gets you, I think, $4. Yeah, so we'll get there. Usman got me a little nervous. Bro, Usman looked good against Buckley. Usman's a dog too, man. This dude is still hungry. The thing that impressed me the most about Usman against Buckley was just how hungry he still is. This is a future Hall of Famer. This is a legend. Been in the game a long, long time. Long time. College wrestler. Nebraska. I think he wrestled in Omaha, Nebraska. One of those maybe Division II schools in Nebraska. Long time Black Zillions member when it used to be called the Black Zillions. These are like the days of like Michael Johnson, Anthony Rumble Johnson, Abel Trujillo, and then Black Zillions changed the name like 20 times. Um, but Usman's an OG, man. I've known it. I've known his coach. I'm personal friends with his strength and conditioning coach, Dr. Corey Peacock. I've known him for like 15 years. So Usman's always going to come in prepared. He has that champion mindset. He's old. Those knees are old too, but he broke my bank, man. I took Buckley. He broke my wallet. So it's tough. Usually combat sports is a young man's sport. But that's the thing with Connor is that when you guys were betting on him, you were overlooking the fact what made Connor great in his prime. What made Connor great in his prime was his speed, reflexes, and timing and his accuracy. All of these things that as men, as we get older, they degrade first. The thing that stays with us is power as an athlete. You mix that with the 5 years of inactivity, it's like I couldn't bet $1 on McGregor, right? Now, Usman's a bit different. He is old, but he's been way more active, and he's not gonna. He'll straight. He wants to take you to the ground. He wants to grapple you. He wants to wrestle you. That's his wheelhouse. He'll strike if he has to. He'll strike. He'll have some success striking. We've seen it before, because he confuses his opponents. And the best way to confuse a striker as a wrestler is to feint and get them biting on double legs and biting on takedowns, and then they're hesitant on the striking, and every now and then you'll see a wrestler knock out a striker. You know what I mean? So we've seen that happen before. But it's an interesting fight. If you put all your winning bets in a parlay, it would have paid plus 4,700. I love when you give me these stats, brother. That's Spread the word, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is us. This is our community, though. As self-made, man. I love when you drop these stats on me, bro. I'm a stats guy. Hey, we're just doing what we always do. Usman Wash. I mean, he looked good. Didn't he look good against Buckley? Am I tripping? Oh yeah, he's not beating Duplessis. I forgot that's who he's fighting. Duplessis is a freaking big, big dude. Usman's not the smallest of guys, but come on. Is this at this is a middleweight, right? You got to remember too, guys. Usman's prime was at welterweight. He cut his teeth at 170 pounds. Duplessis is a freaking monster at 185. Let's see these odds. Dude, you got to tip your hat to Usman, though, man. He's a legend. Dude, still fighting still fighting at the top of the food chain at 39. Man, this is, fans do not appreciate that enough, guys like this. Bobby Green, 40. Shout out to King. Green never became a world champion, but I mean, Usman is a former world champion, 39 years old. Dude, Dricus Du Plessis is a monster. He's only 32. Massive middleweight. Cuts so much weight. He might walk at like 230. Du Plessis is a beast. Awkward. Just real awkward to deal with. Wow, Jean Paul is an known about this kid for like a decade. So this kid here, JBL, he's a plus 160 fighting Shokan Ko. Mate, JBL's a beast. That's crazy. I got to look into that fight. Cannonier and Duncan, what a fight we got here, boy. This is surely that's not this week. It's already July 13th. Freaking insane. Right now, I think Drinkus is a great parlay piece at 36%. I'm not getting props yet. When they drop, we'll get into it. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Connor needs to slap his bar with the bag. I'm not over that. It looked like a humiliation ritual. I like Popo by points, but in an alternate universe, I can see the fight knock on the distance. Cowboy style, moonshot, the big fella. Yeah, man. He was, I called Rumble a friend. He was a friend of mine. I've known him for years, man. Sweetest guy, nicest guy. When he passed away, I cried. Like that one, that one hit me, man. That one still bums me out, guys. That one bums me out. DDP for a sub would be nice. Yep. Usman does have a path to victory. He used wrestling to nullify Buckley, and Dricus has bad takedowns we saw in his last fight. But come on, dude, that's Khamzat. What you have to think about, it's not the takedown, it's Khamzat's ability to keep you down. Usman and Khamzat are a bit different on that end. You know what I'm saying? There's one thing with being able to defend a takedown, get taken down, and get back up. There's another thing with taking somebody down and keeping them down. Khamzat is Khamzat, dude. This guy broke Robert Whittaker's jaw with a face crank. That grip he has is supposed to be like legendary. Usman, yeah, of course. That's going to be Usman's path. He's a wrestler. But, we've seen Dricus. He's not like lost. He obviously looked lost against Chimaev. Chimaev is also massive too. I don't know I think Kamaru's size is going to be an issue. And I think that is, I don't want to say durability, but the 20 years in the game on that body, those knees, I don't see him being able to hold Dricus du Plessis down. He might be able to get some takedowns. I see du Plessis getting back up. And for a big dude, he has good cardio. Shout out to DJ with the super chat coming through. Nobody does it better. Shout out, man. I appreciate you. Guys, wherever you are in the world, man, best community, hands down, JSB Insiders. I appreciate you guys. Remember to like the video whenever you catch this. Remember to subscribe. Keep the notifications on. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of fights ahead of us. And we got some great momentum, man. We are cruising. We went through a small little spell in June. But we're out, dude. This is 3 weeks in a row. And great weekend. Like I said, have strategies about your winnings. Rumble, one of the best heavyweights. Bro, I know him when he was a welterweight. I think he fought Josh Thompson at 170. That's insane. Rumble used to fight at 170. And so I talked about this before on the live stream. There's a lot of people who are close to him who feel that for doing that to his body for almost, 20 years was one of the, reasons he got, he had issues. But it sucks to talk about, man. Mackenzie Dern has great value. We'll get into it. She's champ now, right? Yeah. Selects, appreciate you. Guys, I'm going to lock it up. We're an hour and 15 in. I could stay on longer. It's my Monday. I got a couple more clients today. It's Monday, July 13th at 12:30. We have a long week ahead. I'm going to be going live tomorrow morning early, so stay tuned. I'm going to be dropping a Statstone live video for you, Pacheco versus Aleem. And then we got the UFC card. We have a lot of fights to talk about. Everyone here, man, enjoy your day.